Hey everybody, and welcome back to Unbox Analysis. Today I want to talk about dash cams. One in particular. This was ranked Forbes #1 dash cam on Amazon for 2023. I want to find out why, I want to dig into it, check it out, and I want to see if this is really a dash cam worth your money. Now, it's not the cheapest thing in the world, but when it comes to safety and the world we live in, it helps to have those cameras around. It really does. Today, we're going to be checking out the Rove R3 3-channel dash cam. This is not your average dash cam. This is not a single dash cam facing forward with a fuzzy camera. This is a 3-tier camera, touchscreen, a whole bunch of things going on. So what we're going to unbox it in here. We're going to go through what comes in the box. We're going to go over the Connect kit, the optional SD card, and then we're going to put it in the car. We're going to give it a good test. Also starting out today, kind of exciting, I finally decided to buy a big boy knife. This right here is a knife handmade by a friend of mine from when I was in the military. It is called Bilgewater Blades. I'm going to put it down below. I'm probably going to do a short or a full video on this at some point. I don't know a lot about blades, but from what I hear, this is one of the best metals you can use to make one. So for now, it's going to be my unboxing knife, but we'll get into a test here soon when I do my next Temu, Shein, AliExpress knife test. Stick around for that. So starting off, a couple cool features about this guy right here. I mentioned this is a 3-channel dash cam. That means you have a forward-facing cam, which is 1440p. Then you have one that faces the cabin. So this might be great for somebody who does Uber, Lyft, or just for your own personal safety. And then you have a rear 1080p facing camera. Whole bunch of specs right here on the box. The box has got a lot of colors, a lot of information to take in. We'll try to get into as much of this as we can, but for now, let's start with a couple of these side features. So built inside, they say they have a super capacitor. Basically, that's a special type of battery that they put in this, so it can stay powered if it needs to be 24 hours a day. Different from a normal battery, that is a battery that can handle extreme temperatures, hot, cold, which is what you're really gonna need in a vehicle. So this is gonna help out with that, make sure that battery stays good for a long time. Next up here, we have built-in GPS and 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. So you can connect this to your hotspot, your home, whatever you need to dump footage, pull footage, review footage. Built-in GPS for navigation. Now, the G sensor here. So if you look at the G sensor, this is a shock sensor, right? So if your car is parked, you're inside getting groceries, whatever you have it, and somebody pulls up and bumps your car. This is going to automatically detect that and start recording or save the recorded footage from when you got hit, and it's going to store that in a separate place so it doesn't get deleted until you have a chance to check it out. Because along with the saving, this has what's called rollover footage or loop recording. So what it's going to do is you don't have to empty out your SD card every single time it fills up. You just go back and it'll just keep recording. It'll delete older footage. So if you want to save something from a while back, make sure to pull it off and save it. Or if there's an accident involved, it's going to save that automatically in a special place. Now, obviously a good camera moving around in a vehicle, main positive thing to have, you need good image stabilization. I've tried a couple of cheap dash cams that you've seen in some of my Temu videos. Not great. The image stabilization was horrible, turning around corners, hitting bumps. It was so distorted, I couldn't even see what was going on. Next up, we have a 3-inch touchscreen, but we'll get into that. So this is the Rove Ultimate 3-lead hardwire kit. There are multiple ways to connect this. You can use, your power plug from your car, your lighter socket. It comes with a 4.8 amp dual socket charging adapter that you can plug into the car and wire it that way. But if you plan on using this and leaving it in your car a long time, you might not want to take up that space. So that is where this comes in. Now this kit is sold separately. It's about 30 bucks. I'll put the price up here. And basically what this does, this allows you to hardwire it directly into a fuse position so it has power from the DC 12 volt from the car instead of taking up your lighter spot. We'll get a little more into this when I go to install it in the car. Rove does also sell their own version of micro SD cards. They are going to make sure they are the exact speed you need to record at the higher frame rate with 3 videos running at once. So we'll be using that as well. Okay, jumping into the box. First thing I notice, nice little unboxing experience. Not that that matters for purchasing, I just appreciate it. You have a very substantial owner's manual here. Next, you have a customer service call and email line. It shows that their hours are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. A couple other interesting cards in there. Then we have the different modules. I will say this is packaged very nicely. I like the box too, pretty good presentation. Starting with box number 1, we have a suction cup. You can see a camera here. Then we have the 4.8 amp charging. So what that is that's 2.4 amps per side. And then of course you have your suction cup for the window. So here in the camera, we have a very small, looks like a 2.5 millimeter jack for connecting to the video interface. I believe this is your rear camera here. All right, box number 2 starts out with some cleaning wipes. This is good, you know, when you're sticking stuff to the window, it helps to clean it first. You can need debris in there. These little suction cups don't quite work as good. So make sure to keep track of that. All right, so in this box here, we have all of our cables. So this is a rear camera. You're gonna need to run cables to the rear of your vehicle if you choose to use that camera. But I imagine if you're gonna buy a kit like this, you're gonna wanna use all 3 cameras, just really take advantage of what you have available. So in here, we have a couple of longer cables, quite long, USB-A to USB Type-C. Then you have another A to C, a little bit shorter. This might be for the main unit. And then back here, you have the longest cable. Now, if you look at this connection here, this is going to be going for the rear camera. Looks like it kind of locks into place pretty tightly. That's nice. And it's very long and it's one single cable. So this would be very easy to run along the trim of the car or something like that. I'll give you some ideas when we're installing it in my car. Okay, so far, keep in mind, this is all just from the primary kit. This is not from the hardware install kit. All right, so then you also have a pry removable tool, a couple of sticky pads and adapters. These adapters look like they go for these right here, for the suction cup. They slide into there. And now we have the main unit. So this is the main R3 dash cam. So we're looking at here, you're gonna have a 3-inch IPS touchscreen display right here on the front. You're gonna have a camera right here. Now this camera is gonna face towards the road. This is your 1440p camera. I believe you can either stick it straight to the window or you can use the suction cup attachment. And then right here on the front, facing you is going to be your interior camera. This is gonna be the one that records the cabin side of things. So checking out the connections on this, right here on top, you have your rear camera, power, and data. So this can be ran up or down and around, kind of however you see fit. If you're gonna install this up near your mirror, maybe you wanna go all the way. Take it up through the headline or down through the pillars. I'll explain what those are when we get into the car. Then on the side here, you have another one, a USB Type-C, and that's power only. So this is power only. This is for rear cam and power/data. Then over here on the side, you're gonna have your power button. Then you're gonna have your micro SD card slot. So that aside, let's dig into the ultimate hardware kit. So first thing you're gonna see here, this is kind of interesting that they include this. So what this is, you're gonna take this clip, you're gonna ground it out. This is gonna be how you're gonna find your power. So you want power that's on while the vehicle is on, or they might want you to have all-time power, but I imagine you want this to turn on when the vehicle comes on. So the basic idea of this, you ground this pin out to any screw, bolt, nut, anything that goes to ground, and then you take this end here, pull off the plastic cap, and you will touch the end. Then you will touch the end of the fuses to see which one is on when the vehicle is on. That's gonna help you indicate where to install the next part. Okay, so once you've located the fuse that you want to install this in, you're gonna pull that fuse out. Now, they have multiple different adapters here for different size fuses. So what you're gonna need to find a 5 amp fuse. That appears to be what they want you to use since these are all 5 amp fuses. And then what you do, you take out the fuse that's in the car, you slot, say you have the smaller fuses, you slot this one in right here into the fuse holder, and then you still have your 5 amp fuse while relaying power. So you take your old 5 amp fuse, put in here, so this kind of turns it into a double, so it can still cut power through either fuse. Honestly, this is the nicest way I've ever seen to run things into a fuse box built into a car. We will go over this, and I'm gonna do this later on in the video. I just wanted to give a brief explanation. It's super nice that they include all of these extra connectors here, depending on what type of fuses you use. So now that I see all of these different adapters, that definitely explains why it's $30, and it looks like a pretty useful kit. Can definitely justify the cost on that for sure. So after you've chosen your spot and you've put it in, it looks like you're gonna have 2 different options, battery and accessories. So it looks like they're probably gonna want you to have 2 different power connections, one that's live all the time for charging, and then another one that tells the camera when to turn on. So you're going to be using at least 2 of these. The red one is going to go to your live power 12 volt that's on all the time, whether the key's on, key's off, etc. The yellow one is going to be the one where you're going to try to use this to find the power that's on when you turn the key on. You also have an option here on the back. This is a power cutoff switch. So basically, if you're worried about your battery getting low and you don't want it to kill your battery, this is going to cut it off at a very minimum 11.8 volts. You can also set this to cut off at 12.4 volts, which is super nice. And then once you get that done, you kind of run it up through the dash however you see fit, and you plug this little guy into the power only section. So with all that said, let's go ahead and jump out into the car, get it installed, and give it a test. All right, first thing you're going to want to do, you're going to locate your fuse panel. In my truck, it's on the left side, right near the driver's door. Now this is going to differentiate with most vehicles, so go ahead and look yours up online. Usually they're pretty easy to get to, sometimes glove box, stuff like that. Next, we're going to test for power with the vehicle off, and then test a couple once you turn on accessory mode. This will help you determine where to put the yellow connector and the red connector, because that one's going to need a constant supply of 12 volt power to keep the battery charged, or for the impact collision type mode. Once you find your fuses for both 12 volt and power on with accessory mode, go ahead and take them and you can plug them into their harnesses. You can kind of compare them to figure out which ones you need. Then once you go ahead and get those plugged in, just like you see here in the video, you can go ahead and slot them back into the fuse panels. Make sure to do them in the correct order so you have power. If by chance you don't at the end, go ahead and swap those out for the other direction. So coming up next, then we're going to go ahead and grab the harness. We're going to install the ground cable. Now basically any metal bolts around should work just fine. Just get it in there and get it tight. Make sure it's not going to interfere with anything. Make sure nothing's in the way. Then we can go ahead and connect the harness clips up. Pretty simple. Yellow to yellow, red to red. Now keep in mind here, the red one is going to be live power coming from the vehicle because that is a constant 12 volts. So just be careful where you put your hands or where the end of that touches. Make sure the little waterproof grommets are, snugly put together. You want it to be pretty decent here. Now you can see you have your little switch modes here. So when you go ahead and peel this tape off and mount this somewhere, just make sure it's something you can get to in the future in case you ever want to change that or move it around. Pretty simple though. And then next up, we're going to go ahead and run the cable up to the camera. All right, coming on some of these last steps here, I decided to remove the A-pillar. A-pillar is that area between the window and the left side. So taking these covers off, just make sure to be careful. Use plastic tools included because behind here is usually an airbag. So you definitely want to be careful with that. Now, once we get the pillar off, I'm just going to go ahead and run the cable up behind it, resecure the pillar. And then I'm going to take the cable, we're going to tuck it into the headliner. Now, the nicer way to do this would probably be to push it a little further into the headliner, but this is an easy enough way where it's going to stay in my vehicle pretty well. All right, coming into our last steps here, I just wrapped the excess cable around the mirror, made it a little easier for now. There are probably better ways to do this. But so then I just tested out the camera, got it in a few spots where I thought it was good. Then I'm going to peel off the sticky tape on the back and go ahead and go with this way. You can still use the suction cup mount. It's pretty self-explanatory, super easy to use. Then we got it mounted up. Now let's go see how it works. All right, so we're going to do a little audio test, see how well it picks it up while we're driving. Overall, I drive a pretty quiet truck. It's a 2016 Silverado. So if that's what you're installing this in, that made it pretty easy. A couple things you'll notice, it does keep track of speed. After a while, the camera itself no longer shows the video on the actual dash cam. What it does is it goes to a digital speedometer. It has a west indicator on it right now because I'm driving west. And then you'll see when you get one, or if you haven't checked one out, it also tells you the date right on the front. So it's not a very distracting screen once you're going, which is very nice. Now I will say for a 1440p camera, this is definitely the clearest dash cam I've ever tried. Biggest issue with a lot of these dash cams is it's very hard to even see what's going on, but I think they handle it pretty well with this one. So in the end, absolutely phenomenal dash cam. It's definitely one I can highly recommend. Now you'll notice I did not install and test the backup camera. It's the exact same sensor as the one that faces the cabin. But having all of the scooters in the back, it would mostly block my view. I eventually plan to install it in the future. And for those who are wondering, very simple. So you take this cable here, you can see it has a right angle connector on it. So that'll go right into the top of the R3. You follow the other cable line back down and you run it to the back wherever you want it. You just kind of tuck it into the trim and then you plug in the little jack right there and you're off and going. There is a little bit of setup involved if you want to set up the crash monitoring, stuff like that. But in the end, awesome deal. I did see it's on sale right now. I'll have the Amazon link and stuff like that posted down below. But for now, I can see why Forbes named this their #1 pick of 2023 and why so many people like it on Amazon. I mean, it's an absolutely phenomenal package. I would, however, highly suggest you go with the installation package over this idea, especially if you plan on using this long term, just to keep the wires out of your way, keep everything inclusive, and to not take up your 12-volt power supply for phone charging, whatever else you want to be using it for. So with that said and done, I want to say thank you to Rove for sending this over. They did send it over to me quite a while ago, just been a little bit busy lately. So if you like videos like this, like, subscribe, comment. Make sure to come check us out on Friday at 9 p.m. this coming Friday. We're still working on the time there, and we're going to be doing some live streams. Sometimes we do giveaways, sometimes we just hang out and chat. Really good time. Also, new Discord channel, got it posted down below. Figure we'll start building up a little community here. Maybe eventually get into some gaming. Appreciate everybody for stopping by. We'll see you on the next one.